Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today, as promised, I'm bringing you my Carnivore Semifreddo. For those of you that are not familiar, a semifreddo is an Italian dessert and it loosely translates to partially frozen. So what we'll be doing is mixing some eggs and heavy whipping cream and a little bit of vanilla for some flavor together, and this will create a frozen mousse or ice cream cake of sorts. It's super fun, very delicious, a little bit time consuming, but not difficult whatsoever. So let's go take a look at the ingredients. The ingredients we'll be using today is some heavy whipping cream, a little bit of vanilla, I make my own, and a few eggs. The gadgets and tools that I'll be using for my recipe today, I use my stand mixer to help alleviate some of the copious amounts of whisking that goes on in this recipe. And then I even end up using my hand mixer at the end because my arms are just tired. There is a lot of whisking, but it's well worth it. And the one other tool here that I've got is an instant read thermometer. This is something that you'll need to use to see the temperature of the eggs to make sure they've reached the correct temperature. This is a great tool to have anyway in your kitchen to see the temperatures of anything you're cooking, meats and all that. It's really handy to have. They're not very expensive. And then last but not least, you will be setting up something called a bain-marie. A bain-marie is just a fancy word basically for double boiler. So you'll just get a small little pan, put a little bit of water at the bottom, and then place either a glass or a stainless steel bowl over the top. And as we warm up the eggs, we'll be whisking the whole time so that they can be cooked and tempered and don't curdle. And with that, let's go to the cooking portion.
To begin, I am lining my silicone loaf pan with some plastic wrap, which will help with the removal of the semifreddo when it's ready. And as you can see from me just placing the plastic wrap in there, where the subsequent wrinkles will come at the end result of the semifreddo. Here we start with 420 grams of heavy whipping cream, and I add 8 grams of vanilla extract. You may want to add more or less depending on your palate. When I first start to make the whipped cream here, I keep my mixer on low. I don't want it to splatter, so over time, as it starts to thicken, you'll see I will gradually increase the speed. You'll notice that I adjust the speed accordingly, sometimes reducing. I'm looking for splatters on the side of the bowl there. If it splatters, then that bit of cream is not getting mixed in and won't firm up like we need. And we definitely want to make sure we get all of that delicious heavy whipping cream in there. And you'll want to keep a close eye on it because if you go too long, it'll turn to butter. You'll want to make sure to store this in the refrigerator while we prepare the egg mixture. Perfect consistency. It'll give a nice texture to the semifreddo. Now, to get our bain-marie set up, fill a small pot with just about an inch of water. Take that small saucepan and put it on medium heat on the burner. Next, we'll take our 3 eggs and put them in the glass or stainless steel bowl. And you want to make sure the bottom of the bowl does not touch the water. That's very important. And we will begin the whisking. Make a quick check to see that the water is not boiling. or touching the glass bowl. I've gone ahead and sped up the video here because it is a good 15 minutes-ish of whisking. You want to continually whisk so that the eggs do not curdle or scramble. You see, I often change hands, change directions, and also you can notice the subtle change of color and texture in the eggs as you go through this process. The eggs get thicker and the color will begin to get lighter as well. I've been whisking for a while, so now it's time to check the temperature of the eggs, and I see that we're at 86 degrees. The eggs need to reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm noticing it changing a little bit lighter in color, but also smell eggs, so I thought I would check to see if the water was boiling. Oop, and it was a little too high, so I turned that down. Now it's very evidently getting lighter in color. We're getting close to being 165 degrees. When the eggs reach 165 degrees, you'll want to whip them on high. I use my hand beaters until they become thick, foamy, and almost quadruple in volume. This takes a good 5 to 8 minutes, which is why I end up using my hand mixer. And again, as you watch the process, the eggs very much lighten in color. At the point that they will be ready, you should be able to draw a figure 8 in the batter or in the eggs. I use my quick read thermometer there, or you can use a whisk or a fork, but it should be stiff enough that it will hold a figure 8. It can be very subtle differences in color that you're looking for, but you can see it's getting lighter and lighter and thicker and growing in volume. Think I've been going a while. Let's give it a test. Oh, almost getting there. One more test. Not quite, but almost. Now you can see the eggs are very light and much thicker. Let's give it one last test. I think this will be, yep, that's done enough for me. Now to grab the whipped cream that we've had waiting in the refrigerator, and we put all of that into the eggs. Then we want to slowly fold in the whipped cream to the eggs, very slowly to incorporate them until they're fully combined. There you go. Now you can see that nice creamy color come through, not so yellow. The cream is being incorporated. And it's all ready to pour. So if you were going to be adding fruit to this, I would pour half of it in, then stop. And I like to mash raspberries, strawberries, even mix those together, and then pour that layer of fruit on there, the halfway mark, and then add the remaining semifreddo on top of that. You could even take a fork and swirl the fruit around before you added the second layer. And then I smooth out the top so that it can lay as flat as possible on whatever I wish to display it. Next, I like to smack it on the counter a few times to help release any air bubbles that may have formed. And then lightly cover it with the plastic wrap, both sides, so that it's airtight. And into the freezer it goes, where I let it sit overnight. You'll want to set this out on the counter to soften for 5-10 minutes or so. It really depends on the temperature of your home, the humidity level. And then unwrap. I'm going to use this wooden cutting board for ease of display, but I will admit I like the simple look of this. It really highlights the semifreddo. And I'll show you here the imperfections that are in the semifreddo. It's not necessarily smooth. And I like to jazz it up using a fancy plate and a pretty spoon, and then cut myself a nice big slice. You can see how the knife goes through there easily. It's somewhat melted, a little bit soft.